Back to life, back to reality. Welcome, everybody. Dan United. Hope everyone is feeling a little more upbeat than last night. Hope everybody has their opinions ready for tonight. I've come here tonight to have an honest conversation about the manager and about the players. Before I do, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Some new subscribers last night, so thank you very much for that. We got to start by last night. We've got to. There is plenty of things that needs to be spoken about. And look, we woke up this morning on what was the morning after the night before, and it was a horrific night. It was a horrendous night. And this, for me, I think, and we've gone through some lows at this club. We've gone through some lows under this manager, but I think this was the new low last night, and it hurt, man. I tell you, it hurt. It absolutely hurt. And look, we'll deep dive where the issues are. I think we all know where the issues are, but it ain't a good look, chat. It ain't a good look. And I'm going to be positive because, look, I don't think we need the negativity. I've seen some fan channels wanting to scrap the manager and the players, and I've seen some. I don't like that. But what I will say is this: the video is titled "Amorim the Problem." Rúben Amorim to blame, or are the players at fault after the Everton loss? And we've got to talk about that. We've got to talk about it because look, let's act without the benefit of emotion from last night. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I think there are so many ramifications to come from us dropping the ball last night. We didn't drop it. We threw it. We threw the ball. There was so much at stake. And I think we had a lot of questions answered last night. I think we had a lot of questions answered as to what we have with this group of players, what we have with this management team, what we have with where the direction of this club is. And at the moment, I have to say it, I kind of feel like this club is happy with mediocrity. I do. And this isn't me jumping on the Amorim out wagon because there's no point in that. There's no point in that. I think if we start dividing the fans, I think that's where we fail. But there has to be ramifications to what's happening. Manchester United have flown in the direction of other clubs being so bad this season that by hook or by crook we got ourselves up to a decent position. And last night we had the big opportunity to put ourselves in 5th place, 4th if we'd have got some goals. And what happened? We shit the bed. And I don't think it was just the manager that shit the bed. I think the players shit the bed as well. I think both of them got it completely wrong. And both of them can get it wrong. There is a world where both the players and the managers get it wrong. Some would say that's an entire performance, but you break it down. I think the players had that arrogance when it went down to 10 men of, we're going to absolutely pulverise these. We're at Old Trafford. You know, they've gone one man down. Their heads have gone. We can absolutely just do our thing here. But I also think you have to put it on the manager as well in the sense of sticking with a formation and I know we talk about the system and some people might not like that, but sticking with the system of 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs against 10 men. The great managers go for the kill in these games. The great managers go out there and turn teams over and make a point as well. They're unapologetic. They don't sit there and go, well, there's only 10 men. Let's just see what we do. They go out there and they get the points. They get the goal difference up and they thank you very much afterwards and they move on to the Palace game. Manchester United have absolutely dropped it here. They've bottled it. We've got a game against Crystal Palace at the weekend, who historically we do shit against. David Moyes hadn't won at Old Trafford in 18 years. That was his first win as a manager. And what a way to do it, down to 10 men after 10 minutes. I think he was schooled last night. And Amorim's big problem here is he's very much a stubborn person. He has come out several times and he has said, I will be sacked before I change the way I play. There has to come a time where the manager, instead of being arrogant and saying, I'll do it my way, and if you don't like it or lump it, get rid of me. There has to be a time here where he comes out and says, do you know something? I need to change this up during the game. We need to change this up because we knew, us as fans watching that game last night, we knew within 2 minutes that team didn't look right. We knew that it was disjointed in the front three. Brian wasn't doing his normal. Brian didn't have the faith in Xerxes. You could see that. Ahmad was all over the place. The midfield was just bypassed again. You know, I've been sat here for a couple of weeks now, well, a couple of months, saying Bruno and Casemiro are looking decent. I thought Casemiro was okay last night. I think Bruno was back to his old appalling, moaning self. And I'm sorry, but in the Premier League, if you can't beat 10 men after playing them for 80 minutes, bearing in mind the old adage is that they tire more. They tire more. United looked tired after 30 minutes. You can put it on the fact that there was no Sesko. You can put it on the fact that there was no Cunha. You can put it on the fact that there was no Maguire. You can put it on the fact that Martinez isn't back yet. But ultimately, if you can't beat that in front of you, then there are serious issues. And Everton found it so easy to defend against United last night. What they did was they allowed them to have the ball outside the box because they knew ultimately that the possession game was going to be play it side to side, try and drag the players out of position so we can overload. It didn't happen. If anything, what happened was the defenders, they tripled up. They didn't double up. They tripled up every time out in the wide possession. They did. They suffocated the players out on the wing, knowing that that is all Manchester United had. Manchester United don't have the ability to play it through the lines. And that falls on the manager. It does. I'm sorry. If you want me to say it doesn't, I'm not going to do that. It does. It falls on the manager. I'm sick to death of us having no plan B. I'm sick to death of it. Let me go through some of the comments. Ferdinand says, hi, lads. I missed the live chat. Unfortunately, I'm unable to watch live these days. You are missed, Ferdinand. Hope you're well. Good evening, Chappie. Says, hello, everyone. Amorim out. Good evening, Wahaha. Hope you're good, mate. Steve-O says, hello, everybody. Amorim in. Okay, there we go. Already division. 5 at the back again versus 10-man brigade. It's true. It's true. Warbzo, good to see you, my man. I'm Amorim out. Clueless manager. Bruno midfielder is a joke, says Andy. Look, I agree with Bruno in midfield. Amorim is a one-trick pony, says Chappie. Amorim is not a Premier League manager, period, says Akko. Tactically, Amorim got it wrong, but the Ten Hag players let him down big time. Steve-O, I disagree with that. How many Ten Hag players were in that? Were like Ten Hag players. The goalkeeper wasn't there. Yoro, can you call him a Ten Hag player? He didn't play under Ten Hag. He played one friendly. Delit, yes, you could say. Luke Shaw wasn't a Ten Hag player. Casemiro, Bruno wasn't a Ten Hag player. He was an Ollie player. Ahmad was before. Xerxes was a Ten Hag player. Who else am I missing? Brian wasn't. Dorgu wasn't. I'm not sure we can say that. I'm not sure we can. I think the players got, and I'll go to the players in a second. No Sesko, no Cunha, and Mount Bench makes Amorim clueless. Will Amorim survive without Ahmad, Maz, and Brian? He has got some serious questions that are going to be asked of him in December, guys. We sacked Moyes for less, says Warbzo. Amorim is a young manager. Blame Ineos for hiring him, having a total formation change and giving him a couple of 10s and a 9. Yeah, but do you know something? Here's where I disagree with that, Steve-O. You know I love you. You know I love you, mate. But here's where I disagree with that. Amorim had the chance to get rid of Bruno in the summer for big money. And with that big money, he could have brought in some players that would have played in that midfield. How different would Manchester United have looked this season with a decent 6 or a decent 8 that we could have probably got for 40 million, 50 million? And sold him on, saved money on his wages. Amorim wanted Bruno to stay. There's no hiding from this. He spoke to him. He told him, I want you here. I think he dropped the ball there. Now, yes, he is a young manager. He is. But at the same time, I don't see any difference over from the last game than I did when it was bad last season. And he's brought players in. I think he got the tactics absolutely horrifically wrong last night. I think he got the substitutions wrong, and I'm not gonna dive in him too much because I don't think it's fair to do it on him. There are other people that need to be blamed here, but bringing on Dalot at left wing back for Dorgu was criminal. Dallow's been absolutely appalling all season. Not taking Xerxes off, man. And I know Wahaha's in here, and I know you like him. But I thought Xerxes, apart from that chance at the end, was poor. He had one decent cross across the front of the box, crossed it into the box where a striker should be. Xerxes, where were you? Oh, you were the striker. Not good enough. I think there's more issues afoot here, and that's why at the start of this video I said back to life, back to reality. We've been riding on a wave of emotion here that 5 games unbeaten and we think our season's turned around. I said to you all a few weeks ago, do you think we can get Champions League? And again, emotion with a lot of you. You said, yeah, we can. No, we can't. We can't. We can't. We won't. Unless Manchester United go out in January, which they won't, unless Manchester United go out there in January and spend another 150 million, Manchester United will not finish in Champions League. Manchester United will not finish in Europa League. We'll be lucky to get Conference League at this rate. Hang on, my mouse isn't bloody working. Good to see you, Isaac. Hope you're well, mate. He says, although Amorim is very stubborn, does he really have the options to play in a massively different way or to unlock something with an in-game tweak? The players he's got there are crying out for 4-3-3. I honestly think that it's crying out for a 4-3-3. I'm not a Premier League football manager. I know I'm not. I'm a fan like you guys, but I put my marriage on it. 4-3-3, we'd instantly look a lot better. To play against 10 men and in the 70th minute see that when we're defending a goal kick, we have a flat back 5. That's scary, Isaac. And you know ball. You definitely know ball. That's the manager. That's the manager sticking to what he knows. And he has come out and said it's all he knows. He has. And we can't be angry at him for that. If it's all he knows, it's all he knows. I worry. I worry because I think he'll be here for a long time as well. And I'm not saying Amorim out yet, but I don't think we've seen the worst of what this team can do. To go off, in fact, I'll go through your comments and I'll go through to the players. Andy says his in-game management was appalling. It is appalling. It is. And look, Kev may be watching. Kev's got a sore throat tonight. I think his in-game management's one of the worst in the league. We've seen it against Brighton. Nearly shifted a bloody a 3-0 lead against Brighton. We've seen this against other teams. Last night was no different. Steve-O says, I agree with Dan. The sale of Bruno, it was 50-50 with the fan base about him going, but he is so inconsistent to fight what the figures say. Everything remotely good was created with Xerxes involved. He was on the wing, no Wahaha. Like, how many times did we see How many times did we see Xerxes misplace a pass last night? How many times? And do you know what Xerxes' biggest problem was last night? Tarkowski, I take my hat off to him. Got in his head. The most passion I saw from Xerxes was arguing with Tarkowski. He had to bring off a centre-back once Everton went down to 10 men, especially as the game developed without United showing much threat. I agree. I said last night, I'd have chucked Lacey on. I would have chucked Shea Lacey on there, a young kid. The team, Everton wouldn't have had a clue what he was going to do. They wouldn't have. Make something happen. Sir Alex Ferguson used to do it. Do you remember when he chucked on Makeda against Villa? How can we forget that immortal line? Great turn by Makeda! The finish was incredible. Villa didn't have a clue who the kid was. He does pick his teams with players that he trusts. Now, unfortunately, and this is where I will go away from Amorim slightly, he can't trust a lot of those players. And we got rid of so many players in the summer. And we all sat here. We all did. I did it. And we said, well, that's it now. We got rid of the bomb squad. Now the good times roll. Now we got players we can trust. I don't trust these players, man. I don't trust these players. Ben says, even in all, I think he kept Bruno because at that point he didn't know what players we'd get through the door. Also, I think if Bruno goes and players see that, they might not have wanted to come. I don't know, though, with that, Ben. And good to see you, mate. Good to see you. I don't know, because Cunha and Brian have taken his position. Do you know what I mean? They've taken his position, so I'm not sure about that. Zirk's the only one that tried anything. I disagree. I thought Brian tried a lot. Brian tried to do too much on his own. That was Brian's biggest criticism last night. Held onto the ball too much because he was just trying to make things happen. Everton had less players to attack with, so we can drop a defender, and they have less to defend with. So bringing on another forward option would help create overloads going forward. It would have pushed them back as well, Isaac. It's basic football. Basic football. He was as rusty as I agree with that, Wahaha. But he was the last person who should have come off without a striker on the bench when we were chasing the game. Again, I disagree. We've seen us line up with Mount and Cunha and Ahmad and Brian. We've seen that happen so many times. What annoyed me was how they handled the low block. It's nothing new. It was like watching Joshua versus Ruiz in 2019. We were totally clueless. They practice strategy and training terrible. Well, I would love to have been a fly on the wall at training today, because I'm telling you now, if I'm in training, fuck training. I tell you what I'm doing. I'm making those lads watch that video of that game all day. I'm playing it for 90 minutes, then I'm stopping it, then I'm playing it again. Then I'm stopping it. Then I'm playing it again. Then I'm stopping it. And guess what? I'm playing it again. These players, I don't think, it's hard to say they don't care, because I think, look, they're doing a job and they do, of course they're going to care. But what I think with this group of players, and please tell me if I'm wrong here, please tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like these players, in their eyes, see Amorim as a scapegoat. I think they see Amorim as the easy one to blame. I think they see, because let's be honest, players watch all the interviews. Players, they listen to what the manager says in these press conferences. Amorim has been so emotional since he's been in charge. Amorim has come out several times and said, like I said before, you'll have to sack me. I'm going to carry on playing this formation. Sometimes I don't like my players. Sometimes you want me to go, I'll go. I think the players look at him and go, do you know what? Even if we lose, it's the media are going to go for the manager. They're not going to come for us. They're going to say it's the formation. So I think the players are in a sweet spot again. And how many times do we say this as Manchester United fans, that the players are in a sweet spot? I'd have done what they did in Italy last night. I'd have locked the stadium door. I'd have locked the stadium door. I'd have let the fans have, when you get the ultras going to the players and giving it some. I would have had that last night, because these players, man, they spineless to a man. I think the 4-3-3 with the players you have, but that's not what Amorim likes. At the end of the day, it should have been down to the board to bring in some more players so he can play in the way he wants to. Yeah, but then Isaac, I don't think we got the money to do that. Like, if you believe the story that they said about. If you believe in the story that they said about Baleba, we offered 55 million. We obviously didn't have the money. And then I go back to Amorim. This is where Amorim is to blame. He wanted Bruno to stay. He fought for Bruno to stay. That was 100 million. So it's a bit of both, mate. It's a bit of both. Why wasn't Brian there? Brian was behind him on the wing. How many cry? Yeah, no. Look, Brian. I'm not saying Brian was quality last night, but I thought Xerxes was appalling. Moxie says, evening. I agree with that about the options. Isaac, watch the full interview on United channel. He's brutally honest about where we are and what he wants long term. I said he needs 2 full seasons. I've not said Amorim out, by the way. I've said there's warning signs, but I've not said Amorim out. It's pointless. It's pointless doing that. And do you know something, with this fan channel, I don't want to be one of those fan channels where I learnt my lesson after Brentford. I was furious. Don't want to be one of those fan channels that just says, that's it, just get rid. We have to go in this for the long haul. We do. But at the same time, Amorim has to wake up a little bit, and I think he has to be a bit more tactically savvy with the way the Premier League is. His problem is he's used to having it all his own way in Portugal. The Portuguese league compared to the Premier League, it's ridiculous. The gap in level is ridiculous. And I don't think he's got used to that yet. I agree, Moxie. It's just whether the board can tolerate the transition for such a long period of time. I think he's safe with the board. Evening all, I'm going to be the voice of reason here on the subject. Feel like we are contradicting what's been said by most of us a few weeks ago about giving him time. Yeah, look, we can't, like I said, back to life, back to reality at the start of the video. We cannot sit here and say, this is it now, the manager's getting it, and then say get him out. I agree with that to a certain extent, but I also understand where fans' frustrations are, because Carl, last night, that was awful. Let's not forget, that was atrocious. Everything you didn't want to see in a group of players and a manager, you saw last night. He looked baffled on the sideline. He looked baffled, and he's got to get with it. We didn't have any dribblers on the pitch. Dallo on the left, so defensive when we should have been attacking. Maybe Lacey could have been in there, something he's good at. I'd chucked Luke Shaw at left wing back. I said this. No one else gets that header off that forced the only save from Pickford. What, on the pitch? What do you mean? I don't get it. Of course they weren't. He was the furthest person forward. We go on about round pegs in square holes, but look at Fergie. Had to play midfielders in defence and different places, but Fergie got the win. But the difference was, Jamie, between then and now, they were bred into a winning mentality. Second place was not an option. Here, because of the ownership saying 2028, that's when we're going to win the league. Players are going, well, the expectation is Mint was saying, yeah, we'll get a couple of results. We'll get up the table a bit, but They ain't expecting us to win the league this season. Sound. Mad. The midfield and wing backs are the major issue. I felt I get it was a bad result, but that's football and that's the Premier League. Bad results happen. Yes, but Carl, devil's advocate here. Devil's advocate. Would Manchester City, after Everton going down to 10 men, would they have gone on to lose that game 1-0 last night? Would Liverpool have, even in Liverpool's form? Would Arsenal? Would Chelsea? Would Newcastle? Would Villa? Would Spurs? Would Brighton? No, because they'd have pumped it forward. They'd have changed it. They'd have gone on the offensive, and we didn't. Are the players wanting Amorim out? It's a good question, Chappie. It's a good question. Ben says, question after last night, do you agree with me yet that well over half of the players in the squad aren't good enough to play for United? I think it's, we could go through it now. We could go through it now as to who we think. In fact, I'm going to write that down. We might do a video on that this week. Who are best to... Right, that's fine. Well, that's a good idea for a video, Ben. We'll do that. Dallo, Dorgu, Xerxes, Casemiro, Ugarte all need to go in January. I don't think Casemiro. I mean, look, unless he doesn't sign a new contract, I thought Casemiro did okay last night. I thought we missed him when he went off. You're scapegoating Xerxes again. I'm not scapegoating him. No, wahaha. He's not good enough to be a United player. He's not, and I don't want to seem like I'm going for the same player all the time, but last night I didn't like what I saw from him. He didn't offer anything to where I thought he would have. I wanted that kid to score last night. I wanted him to score just to ram it down my throat, but he didn't look at the races. And we can say it's ring rust. We can say that he's not played many games, but these are professional footballers. They train every day. They're not training against the dog and duck. They're training against their own players. They're training against Premier League players. I'm not sure, man. You could get him a perfect 11. It doesn't matter in the Premier League. If you don't change your approach, you'll lose. The quality of manager is too high to go with a one-size-fits-all. I agree with that. Where would the so-called leadership during the game? They were all bad. Look, the Premier League itself. The Premier League itself demands, and leadership in the Premier League is so much more different to in Europe. Leadership in the Premier League is being those players that takes the game by the scruff of the neck and drives your team forward. When things aren't going right on the field, you look to this leadership and you go, we're in the doldrums here, and they drag you through. Does anyone honestly here think Bruno Fernandes is a player that you look at when you're struggling and you go, Bruno, what do we do? He doesn't, because he's too busy throwing his arms up. He's too busy screaming. Well, Dan, you didn't have the money to do it the way the board wanted to do it. If they went for smarter options than with the recruitment, they could have bought in cheaper players on cheaper deals. Yeah, but again, I say this, Isaac. If they'd have sold Bruno, that's 150 million. You could have bought 3 players in for that. But I get what you're saying. Look, that Richard Rios was there available. We should have gone in for him. I said pre-season, chuck a bid in for Welbeck. Bring him back as a backup striker. Welbeck last night would have been better than what we had. No, I hear that, Moxie. Don't worry, bud. Our first 11 back 4 cost us. Yeah, well, that's because you've done it the right way, isn't it? I'm consistent in not backing him. Hasn't shown, and I can see. And you know something? I can see that. Wahaha, and I understand why you'd say that, mate. I do. Players let us down, but he's been there officially 12 months now. He's got 12 wins in 12 months, man. That's bad. That is and you're right. That is a shocking record for a Premier League manager, let alone a manager we expect to win. Yeah, no, I hear it. Look, I'll go through some more of your comments in a minute. Here's the next question, and here's my next worry as Manchester United. And we know I'm here to tell you something tonight. I sat here, and Isaac's going to love this. I sat here a few weeks ago saying, go out and get Anderson in January. Go out and get him. 2 things will stop that now. A, Anderson will look at that performance last night and think, well, I ain't going there. The second thing is, you think Manchester United knocking on the door to Nottingham Forest in January and saying, how much for Anderson, by the way, we'll give you. His value's just gone up and up and up. Not mostly because of the way he's playing, but because they know we need it. Manchester United's midfield are awful. They're awful. We have got so many problems across that field that I don't know where to look next. Because yes, we missed Cunha. Yes, we missed Sesko. Yes, we missed Maguire. But this goes down to the point, and I can't remember who said it. You'll have if you're in the chat here and you said it a few weeks ago, pop it back in. This is us struggling with a squad in just the Premier League. We're at the Carabao Cup. We've got another month and a half until the FA Cup. This is us struggling with one game a week with a squad. The squad's not good enough. And yes, I will take that away from Amorim. That is on the board. The board needs to be building up there. But I don't know where they go from this. I don't know what they do with this. Now, Amorim, to his credit, will come out fighting. He'll come out swinging and he'll say, I don't care. I don't care. You know, this is the way we're going to do things. And yeah, all credit to him. But I think Amorim's in just as big a sweet spot as the players are. Because when Amorim keeps hearing Sir Jim coming out saying, I want him here for another 3 years. When he hears Berardi coming out saying 2028, we're going to win the Premier League. Does that give the manager any pressure? Like, managers need pressure. I think we can all agree with that. Managers need pressure. Players need pressure, but managers need pressure. They need to feel the pressure, not from the fans, from their employers. And I don't think there's an ounce of pressure that is put on Amorim. I think there's this acceptance still behind the scenes. Look, we get it. We're not where we need to be. Just make do with what you got. Don't worry, we're going to bring the players in. There needs to be pressure on this manager from the board. There does. Not to sack him, but there needs to be pressure on this manager to say, look, you got to show us something else sometimes, Amorim. We get it. You want to do this formation. And do you know what? When all of your players are available, absolutely, have at it. Go for it. But you need to be willing to change a little bit here, mate, because at the moment, with no pressure, Amorim is just sat there chilling. He is. I've never heard a manager come out with the arrogance that he does, unless it's Jose. Jose was the king of arrogance. I've never heard a manager come out and say, look, this is my way. Either sack me or I'm going to keep playing it. You're employed by Manchester United, mate. You're employed by Manchester United. 12 wins in 12 months isn't good enough, dude. You need to shape up with it. You need to shape up quick. Sesko injured. Cunha injured. What happens if Lemmy gets injured? No decent backups. Yep. AFCON, I'm terrified for. If we played well and lost, fair enough, but it was awful. And Chappie, I agree with that. Only reason I say Casemiro is because of wages. That's fair. I see that. But I'm hearing way too much about Xerxes, not enough about Yoro, Ahmad Bryan, and especially Brit. Dorgu, I agree. Look, Dorgu, and Dorgu is an Amorim player. Dorgu is a player that he likes. Dorgu needs to go out on loan. Dorgu is not the left wing back option. He is awful. Last night, he was absolutely atrocious. There was a moment where the ball got played to him and he didn't know where the ball was. He was like looking one way and then he went, where the... oh, it's there. It's there. This needs to stop now. With this one game a week, we need to put Martinez back at left-sided centre-back and we need to put Luke Shaw at left wing back. He has to do it. On Sunday, I am expecting a big, big change from this Manchester United side. And do you know something? If we go out there on Sunday and we beat Palace away, something that we struggle to do, then you can sit there and you go, okay, blip, let's see what we do. Because December looks favourable for United with the fixtures. Wolves twice, West Ham, Bournemouth are struggling. Newcastle and Villa. Newcastle, you don't know which Newcastle team are turning up. I think we've got to see something different with the players he's picking. The lack of matches is a major problem for players who don't start. No, I hear that. I don't mind people backing a player, wahaha, but Xerxes just isn't good enough for United or even the Premier League. I agree. Bruno is the worst captain we've ever had. Yeah, I put him worse than Antonio Valencia. So if we want Amorim out, the so-called leaders still there, not fair. They need to go first. Some of them will, though, Steve-O. Some of them will, and this is what I think. This is what I think Manchester United will do. Okay. Don't worry, I will go. I'll go through some more of the comments. I can see there's a few there. I'm not going to miss them out. I think Manchester United will stick with Amorim to the end of the season. I think they will. I don't see them getting rid. I don't think they're ownership that makes snap decisions like that. The Ten Hag one was different. It was appalling. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't as bad as this, but we could see the direction it was going. With this, I think they will wait out to the end of the season. I think we will see players leave, and I think we will see another new rebuild. And I don't like talking about Manchester United needing a rebuild in November. I don't. I think it's pathetic to talk about that, but we know that's a reality. We know that there are players that need to be moved on. We know that we need a minimum of 5 in the summer. So Manchester United, I think, will stick. And I think we'll see this. This will happen throughout the season, guys. I don't think we've seen the last of United going on a few games unbeaten. I don't. I can see us going on another 4 or 5 game unbeaten run. After Palace, I can see us doing it. I can. But these performances are going to creep back in. They are. So get used to it and don't hide from it. We can't hide from it. Xerxes would struggle to get in the Wolves side, says Ben. Yeah, I agree. Rios has been really poor at Benfica since making the switch. He's really struggled to adapt to the European game. That's fair. I don't watch him, to be fair, anymore now he's gone. I'm thinking if he doesn't get better at the end of the season, I think Amorim will be gone. I don't think he will, Jamie. I think he'll be given at least another 12 months from now. When you put it like that, with 1 game a week, it is quite concerning. It is. Ben says, after last night, players we go after just got... Yeah, and Ben, you're absolutely right. Look, any player that Manchester United wants, even Baleba, who I think his value will have dropped by 30 million at least... Brighton straight away now go, well, you need him. You need him. I personally think I'm switching from the Anderson thing because that's not happening. And I think some reporters might want to go out there and say about a release clause, it's bullshit. I think Baleba is the one we look at in January. I think we already know we're going to miss out because of the AFCON until how far they get into the tournament. But I think United will go for Baleba in January. They have to. As Frederick says, as a Forest fan, I shouldn't have an opinion, but your manager isn't much better than Postecoglou. Can't argue with that at the moment, brother. There's definitely pressure for sure. Without being in Europe this season, your only way to qualify is either through the league position or by winning a trophy. Oh, God. I mean, that's it. We've only got 1 trophy to play for. What about the players feeling pressure? Will probably play practically the same team against Palace despite their crummy performance. Players don't care. The players don't care. They don't care about pressure. Brian has nearly had nearly as many bad touches and passes last night as Xerxes, and he's supposed to be our game changer. The other is on his way out. Only decent chance before we conceded. He wasted by being selfish. But okay, I take that. Here's the difference. I think we saw Mbeumo suffer last night because he didn't have Sesko in front of him. He didn't have Cunha with him. He didn't have Mount with him until he come in near the end. I think that unsettled him. That's my fault. I know we lost last night with an awful performance, but come on, people, it's 1 loss in 6. Let's see what happens on Sunday before we write off the season. Yeah, I love that. I love that positivity, Moxie. You always bring it back, mate. I feel more like with Amorim's stubbornness, though it's more like he's trying to make a point to the board that he needs more players. Yeah, I think I agree with that. And Moxie at 7, and that's a good point. 7 out of bloody 3. That's horrendous. Dan, do you think the players are confused by Amorim's? This is where I'm gonna back Amorim. This is where I'm going to back Amorim on this because I've got to say this. If after 12 months the players can't get the tactics he's trying to push for us, then there are issues with the players, and they obviously don't know how to play football because 12 months of learning something, 1 game a week with training every week, the players have to take accountability. The system might not be pretty, and Jamie fucking Carragher will dine on this for the next 6 months. You know. I'm sick of hearing his fucking voice. He'll dine on it, but the players have to take accountability. They do. They have to take accountability. There's been no improvement in a year. In fact, trophy-wise, we're worse. Yeah, we are. We are in a hole, but look, this is where we turn this around now, okay? I've had my moan. Manchester United fans, I'm wearing my beautiful new shirt that Mrs. Robinson bought me. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love this shirt, man. Who does this shirt remind you of? One player that comes to mind with this shirt, put it in the chat. For me, it's only one. And it probably surprised you, Lee Sharp. Lee Sharp every time when I see this shirt. Who does this shirt remind you of, chat? Everyone will remember this shirt. Now we need to focus up. We need to lick our wounds. We need to get from off the floor because we are on the floor, and quite rightly so. The players and manager at fault for that. But we need to lick our wounds and move forward. This result has happened. You are only as good as your last performance. Manchester United have to stick with that mantra for the rest of the season. We are only as good as our last performance, which means, do you know something? Can we get any worse than yesterday? I don't think we can. I expect a response. I expect a response from these frauds. I really, really expect a response from these frauds. I expect some of these players. I think we'll see Martinez come back. I'm hoping Cunha will be back on Sunday. It looks like he will. Will we see Sesko? I mean, look, there was talk that Rúben Amorim said he wouldn't be out for as long as we thought. Maguire hopefully is back. I think we've got to get back into the positive mould and go straight for it. Because look, we're Manchester United. Hated, adored, never ignored. Every bit of the media will come at us and laugh at us for last night. And do you know what we do? We take it on the chin. We have to take it on the chin. We have to remain united and we have to push forward. I think Manchester United can do something on Sunday, but they have to want it. We have to see so much more than we saw yesterday. I think it was a slap across the face. People thought arrogance would succeed. It didn't. You come across against a very, very, very wily old fox in Moyes, who set his team up and had that grip between his teeth. United have it all in their hands. We can do it on Sunday. We absolutely should. It says Sharp. I didn't even think about that, but Lee Sharp. It always reminds me of Lee Sharp because of the goal celebration. I'm not surprised it reminds you of Lee Sharp. Yeah, I've dropped a fucking bollock there, haven't I? Guys, thank you for joining tonight. It's only a short one because I've had a busy day at work and I'm going back to work now. I've got to get the laptop out and do some more work. Paul Parker, that's a shout. That's a shout. But thank you very much for joining tonight. Love you all, and I will see you all back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. My one promise to you tomorrow is we come back with energy tomorrow night. We will have licked our wounds. We will have got over it. We will absolutely be back on it. I love you all. Dan United, Kev United. Man United, Brian Brigade, back in Brigade. Uta.